Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of Drop the Mitts Hockey Podcast. Today we've got an unreal guest here. 2022 first round pick, Hobey Baker finalist this year. You've had an incredible season, Sam. Current defenseman for the Minnesota Gophers, Sam Rinzel. Sam, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. I'm happy to be on here. So thank you for the accommodation.
Yeah, man, greatly appreciate it. I know, I know we've been going back and forth for a couple weeks now here, and just super fired up to have you here. It's a huge honor. You guys currently sit fourth in the country as of yesterday. 21-6-3, only trailing BC, who just got upset last night, as well as Michigan State and Western Michigan. Sam, what do you think have been the biggest pieces of or the contributing factors that have, kind of played into your team's success so far?
Yeah. Obviously it was huge kind of when Snuggy kind of decided that he was going to come back for kind of his junior year. And obviously it's a big part of our team, but I mean, all of our guys from top to bottom, whatever they are in the lineup, I think our team is super deep and, everyone's competitive in practice and, our team is, I think culture-wise is just unbelievable kind of being a part of it. And yeah, I just think we got every piece of the puzzle that, we can accomplish kind of what our goal is for the season. And obviously it's a national championship, but obviously that's in the future. But our team has, eyes on one goal is, I think, just going through the process of the season and obviously working hard, and you want to try and win as much games as possible. So.
Yeah, you mentioned Snuggy. You yourself, you're a nominee for the Hobey Baker that came down a couple weeks ago. It's given to the best player in college hockey, obviously. You yourself and you mentioned the captain, Jimmy Snuggerud. What does that nomination mean to you, and what does it mean to be nominated alongside your captain?
Yeah, it's truly an honor. It's unbelievable. It's kind of crazy to think about, looking back at maybe my younger self, it'd be pretty crazy to say that I'd kind of be nominated for it. Obviously I was a late bloomer kind of myself. So maybe a little late kind of catching up to kind of my peers, but it's awesome for obviously having my teammate, my captain kind of be up there with it. Obviously he's up there in points for kind of the nation. So it's pretty cool to watch him. And obviously I'm rooting for him and I'm sure he's doing the same. And kind of for me. So, but I just love watching his process and how he's going through everything, and it's truly sick.
Yeah, we're talking about Jimmy. Like, he's had some highlight reel plays. It seems like every weekend you throw on everything college hockey, you see his goal highlights. From your perspective, what does Jimmy mean to your team? And what has it meant for you to be able to look up to him? Are there any qualities that he has, as far as leadership goes, that you kind of try to emulate yourself, things that you've learned from him along the way?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I've grown up with him ever since I was little. We've kind of gone through our whole kind of hockey journey, kind of, on same teams and whatever it is, kind of growing up, kind of going against each other, whether it's pond hockey or whatever it is. So, he's as competitive as they come as a hockey player, and he wants to win every battle, every game. So in practice, he wants to win. And obviously, he loves scoring goals, and that's something that's his strength. So it's awesome to kind of have on your team with a guy like that. And, obviously being a captain, it's unbelievable to kind of be able to jump on that guy's shoulders and hop along with the ride.
Yeah, he seems like a super, obviously super intense guy on the ice. What's it like kind of being with him, as far as his leadership style goes?
Yeah. Obviously super competitive on the ice. Unbelievable guy off the ice, obviously being kind of best friends with him growing up. And obviously he's a fun loving guy. He's awesome to be around. He likes cracking some jokes and, but he's also very responsible and kind of knows how to carry himself as well. So.
Yeah. And I did some digging. You're from Chanhassen. I hope I didn't butcher that.
Yeah. Chanhassen, no worries.
Yeah. You get to play in one of the best atmospheres. I mean, I'm originally from Massachusetts, so we've got, the Garden and whatnot. But I see all these videos of Mariucci and the high school hockey. That's just insane out there. What's it been like, suiting up for the Gophers and being able to play in front of those crazy fans at Mariucci?
Yeah. Ever since I was little, it was a dream kind of to be here. And, when you're here ever since I was going out for my first, exhibition game my freshman year, it's crazy to think about. And, obviously we just kind of had an attendance record when we played Wisconsin kind of this year. So, I mean, the crowd is insane and, it helps our team for sure. So, I mean, there's nothing that you can say bad about them, and they're awesome to kind of play with and play behind. And, they like to be loud. So it's super fun, obviously.
Yeah, do you kind of have to pinch yourself when you look around and see everyone? And obviously, like you're from Minnesota, so I can't imagine what that feeling's like. How surreal is it? Just kind of trying to take that moment to kind of soak it all in.
Yeah, it's crazy. Obviously, every once in a while, you can kind of be like, "Wow." But I mean, obviously, you got games to play, but it's pretty cool, kind of when you hear the chant. Like after the national anthem, they'll always say the Minnesota chant, and
Yeah.
I'll chant along with it sometimes while I'm skating around. So it's pretty cool to be a part of for sure.
Now, other than Mariucci, are there any barns that kind of like come to mind when you just like that crazy atmosphere? Obviously, around you've got some pretty passionate fans all the way through Minnesota, and then some of those other schools, in bordering states.
Yeah. For me, the rivalry games, whether it's playing Wisconsin, if they're having a whiteout,
Yeah.
Michigan games can get really intense. When Michigan came to our rink this year, we had a whiteout, and it was pretty insane and pretty cool. So, yeah, it's hard to say. A lot of other teams obviously have great fans as well, and their plays can be rocking as well. So.
Yeah, you mentioned Michigan. Obviously, this weekend you got a huge tilt against them. Obviously playing them twice in Ann Arbor. What they're also ranked, number 12, so pretty high as well. What do you think the keys to success are going to be taking on a team like Michigan, especially being on the road?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The Yost is always a hard place to play. It's every time you go into someone else's rink, it's going to be hard. So, they're a good team. They're going to work hard. Obviously, they got some offense to their game. So, I think when we're playing and kind of playing our style of hockey, it works well. So, I think just sticking to our game and knowing what we're capable of, and obviously kind of working hard and executing.
Yeah, and man, going through this roster, I was looking at it yesterday. You guys are absolutely loaded. I mean, you go down that list. I mean, just a few names: Connor Kurth, Oliver Moore, Matthew Wood. Obviously, we mentioned yourself, Jimmy. Just to name a few. Can you talk about the balance of your team and just your team's ability to wear opponents down? Because I think you guys have done a great job of that this season, and just how many goals you score. You guys put the puck in the net a ton. Can you kind of speak to that?
Yeah. Obviously, it's one of the reasons why you kind of want to go to a place like Minnesota is you want to play against unbelievable players in practice, and you want to also play with them in games. So, our lineup is great. Whether it comes from our defense, with the Cal Thomases and Mikey Kester, who's obviously a fifth-year guy who's a senior who comes back, and Ryan Chesley, Luke Middlestad, all those guys. Getting transfer with Wood was huge, and he's obviously an unbelievable player and super fun to play with and against as well. So, but yeah, up and down the lineup from guys like Johnny Middlestat to the Brody Lambs to whoever it is. So, it's truly pretty fun to go against them in practice. Obviously, everyone's a little different with, the speed balances and, people got good shots. So,
Yeah.
It's certainly fun to play with in my mind.
Yeah, dude. I mean, even just looking up your stats, you're already at 9 goals, 7 more than last season, with a good, a few games left. What do you think has changed this season? Obviously, you're just anyone who's watched you knows that you're a responsible defenseman, in your own end. And that jump of offense. What do you think has been the biggest contributing factor, kind of for that uptick in scoring?
Yeah. I like to get in the offense. Ever since, like being that fourth wave, kind of when I can carry the puck, I like to do that as well, kind of just using my skating. But Yeah, obviously I want to be a two-way player kind of going forward. So obviously defense is important, obviously being a defenseman, but yeah, I just getting faster and stronger in the summers and will definitely help kind of your game, whether it's separating from guys and obviously the game slows down for you. Coming in kind of my second year, just kind of be able to pick my spots and knowing that I have some more time, maybe I can get my head up and being able to pick a spot. So, yeah, just kind of the game slowing down, I would say.
Yeah. I got to talk a little World Juniors with you. Obviously, you were a pivotal piece to when they won the gold. They just won, obviously, again in January. How cool was it to see your former teammates get the job done? And back when when you won, rather, can you describe what that experience was like? You were a huge piece to that team, a loaded team. Can you just kind of talk about that experience?
Yeah. I mean, anytime you can go play with kind of the best of your age group and obviously being able to win it's unbelievable. And, you obviously learn so much about your game kind of there as well. But yeah, this year was unbelievable watching like a teammate like Oliver Moore and Brody Zimmer being able to go there and win back to back was super cool. I remember watching it in our rink lounge with a bunch of the guys kind of celebrating and cheering. So, yeah, it's an unbelievable thing to be a part of. Winning a gold medal is super special and very honorable, I would say.
Yeah. Kind of want to go back to your game. You had mentioned you want to be more of like a two-way defenseman, especially the jump in scoring. Are there any players currently in the NHL that you see some similarities in, or you try to emulate your game after?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've well, I think for me, it's just, taking bits and pieces of a lot of guys. Whether it's a little bit of Makar's offense, obviously he's, one of the best in the world at it. So, guys like Heiskanen, bigger guys, kind of like Sider, is a fun one that I really like to watch. Obviously he's very, very responsible defensively and he's able to obviously chip in offensively as well when it's there. So, guys like Colton Parenko, kind of bigger guys as well. Yeah, there's just a bunch of guys that I kind of like watching and try to take pieces from, and obviously, kind of learn from guys that end that at that level for sure.
Yeah, and we mentioned, right at the beginning of the pod, your first round pick, 25th overall, in 2022 to Chicago, to be picked by a historic Original Six franchise. Can you take us through like what you remember about that whole process, like as far as draft interviews, combine, and then ultimately what it was like to hear your name selected by Chicago?
Mm-hmm. It was crazy. That year gets pretty intense. You got the combine with all the interviews. I think I maybe did like 31 interviews, or high 20s, something like that. But it was pretty crazy. And obviously it's in Montreal, and I wasn't even sure if I was going to be able to go to the draft, kind of with the whole COVID situation going on.
Yeah.
And kind of getting over to Canada was a little weird. But
that must have been brutal.
Yeah, it's crazy, with everything, kind of all the rules they had going on. But being able to go, I was with my mom, my dad, and my grandpa. My grandpa is one of my biggest supporters. So, but yeah, obviously, there were a bunch of trades. Chicago made a bunch of trades.
Yep.
Kind of when they traded at that 25th spot, I kind of figured it would be a D, but obviously I didn't know who. So when my name was called, I just heard kind of from Chanhassen, and you instantly are just kind of shocked. I remember smiling up there, and my jaw was kind of shaking, smiling for the photo on the stage. But it's such a cool experience, and something I'll really never forget.
Were there any other teams that you like felt really good about that you like? Was it always Chicago? Were there other teams that you were like, if I slip to them, like I'm for sure going here, or was it always Chicago?
Yeah, I don't know. Obviously, there's a bunch of other teams show interest as well. I didn't really know what team. I only kind of knew kind of maybe that late first-ish,
Yeah.
maybe early second kind of where I would go. But obviously you have your teams that kind of show a little more interest maybe than others. But yeah, Chicago was a team that, obviously I had a really good combine interview with them. And, I felt like everything was kind of equally shared. And the interest was kind of equally there for sure. They showed great interest. So.
That's unreal. Yeah, and Chicago's obviously loaded as far as like just overall prospects, and then you look at like the young defensemen they have. As far as prospects go, they just drafted Lev Shinnoff last year, who you guys played against. Kevin Korchinski, Alex Vlasic, another young guy, and then your teammate Oliver Moore, and then Frankie Nazar. You got to attend the development camp with those guys. What was that experience like? And what was your biggest takeaways from that week?
Yeah. Obviously it was funny. First year, we are on the ice, got to meet kind of my whole kind of draft year guys, and, a couple of college guys were in there as well, kind of my year. So kind of getting to know them a little better, and obviously meeting all the other guys is they could treat you like a home. They're so welcoming, and obviously kind of my second year they're off the ice, and we were able to do boxing or whatever it is, cook some meals. But they're super welcoming, and I think kind of as you get older, you kind of go into that role to where kind of the newer guys you want to be welcoming to them, because that's the type of culture that you kind of want to build is kind of that family culture. So
Yeah, awesome. Sam, I always like to close out with this question. Guys that have had success like yourself, obviously making it to the Division I ranks, and then obviously to get drafted in the NHL, which such a small percentage of people actually do, which is insane. What would be your biggest piece of advice for, kids who have dreams of, playing college hockey, getting drafted, whatever it may be? What would be your biggest piece of advice to them as far as things they should be doing, to get to that point?
Yeah. Have fun with it. I think, if you're not having fun kind of with the sport that you love to play, that's part of it. You want to enjoy it. So, have fun. Trust the process, I'd say. Things may not be going the way you want them when you're 13, 14 or 15, but obviously, like I said, I was a late bloomer, so whatever it is, there's a long way to go. You see guys making NHL debuts kind of spending years and years trying to get there, and they end up getting there. So it's for sure a long process, and just be grateful the opportunity that you get to kind of play the greatest game ever, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And have fun while doing it.
Yeah, it's unreal, man. And again, I greatly appreciate you taking the time. I know how busy you are with school, and obviously, I can't imagine, dude. I remember those days, and again, can't thank you enough for taking the time. And I wish you and the boys the best of luck moving forward, and obviously, best of luck this weekend. You guys, I got faith in you guys for sure. So really appreciate you.
Oh, thank you. Super fun experience. I don't get to do a whole bunch of podcasts, so it's fun for me.
Yeah, man, I greatly appreciate you. And like I said, hopefully we can link up again at some point, and make this happen again.
Perfect. Agreed.
All right. Take care, buddy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, there it was, Sam Rinzel of the Minnesota Gophers, Hobey Baker nominee. I mentioned defenseman for the Gophers, former first-round pick of the Chicago Blackhawks. Cannot thank him enough for joining the podcast. Got to give a huge shout out to the Nielsen Agency. Thank you guys so much for making that happen. Sam's a great kid. Obviously, we all know he's a phenomenal player, even better person. So, again, cannot thank him enough for joining. Going to be a hell of a tilt this weekend, as we mentioned. Minnesota takes on University of Michigan in Ann Arbor for 2 games on the road. So it's going to be, he mentioned that's a hell of an environment there. Going to be a huge test for the number 4 Gophers. Hopefully they can pull out 2 wins and stay in that top 5 there. That's extremely competitive right now. Mentioned with BC, Michigan State, Western Michigan, BC, who just obviously, for you guys who watched, lost the Beanpot Championship. Was a great game. They started off hot. Obviously, just could not get the job done. They still sit at number 1. I'm sure that will change in the next week when the new rankings come out. So that was an awesome episode. Great kid. It was awesome to hear his story about getting drafted by Chicago, being able to play with guys like Jimmy Snuggerud, Oliver Moore, and a bunch of those other guys on a loaded Minnesota team. Obviously, we just had the first 4 Nations game kind of get underway, and obviously what a game that was. Canada obviously started off hot. What we all wanted to see was that power play of Connor McDavid, Nate McKinnon, Sidney Crosby, and there is no doubt in my mind, seeing what Sidney Crosby did last night was insane. The three apples, all of which were incredible passes. The first being the power play goal. I believe it was 59 seconds into the game. Unreal pass to Nate McKinnon, who just spanked it home, and that was such a sick goal. And then obviously the second, being the pass to Mark Stone, kind of using his body again against Gustav Forsling, being able to thread the needle like that. Mark Stone finished it off for the second goal, and then his third assist, obviously probably the most important, the drop pass to Mitch Marner, who eventually was able to finish off the play. I definitely was one of those, not that I wasn't excited for the 4 Nations. I was definitely skeptical about what the pace may look like. The effort level, is this going to be, one of those all-star kind of environments? And this was anything but. Obviously, within the first probably 10 minutes of the game, it was all Canada. Canada was, controlling the play. Sweden didn't really look like they were putting in a whole lot of effort. Obviously, there was not much that Gustafsson could do on a few of those goals. Obviously, when you got one of the best players in the world coming down, making plays like that at 37 years old, which is even crazier to think about, there is not much you can do. But kind of put it out there on Twitter that there's no doubt in my mind that Sidney Crosby is, as far as his all-around game goes, a top 3 to 5 player of all time. Just what he does, especially at 37 years old, which is even crazier to think about. It's insane. And it just kind of makes you wonder, what could he do when surrounded by talent? I mean, obviously the 4 Nations is a little bit more of a anomaly. It's an all-star team, but even with his time in Pittsburgh, what he's been able to do, with surrounded by not minimal talent, but obviously definitely decreased talent throughout the years. And obviously these past couple of years have been pretty brutal in Pittsburgh, and he continues to just put up points and make plays, and you don't really hear much about it, just because the Penguins aren't in a great spot. And even this season, I mean, in 55 games, he's got 17 goals, 41 assists, so he's still setting guys up. And obviously last year he had a great season as well. He was just shy of 94 points, of 100 points, sorry, with 94. Played all 82 games, 42 goals, 52 assists. So he's still playing at an incredibly high level. Just watching him play has been, I've been grateful. There's guys throughout your life that you watch that you just know you're going to be able to look back it just say, kind of when your kids ask you about watching him, kind of like we do with Gretzky and guys like that, Sidney Crosby is going to be right up there. And as I mentioned, the Four Nations, the first game was fucking sick. It was unreal, and I definitely, I'll admit, was skeptical about it at first. And just the pace, the creativity was exceptional. And I can only imagine, and that was only the first game. I can only imagine what these games are going to look like going forward. Especially the games this weekend. USA kicks off, so I'm definitely excited about them. I mentioned, a few days back when Jordan Binnington was, named the starter for US or for Team Canada. I thought that was going to be their Achilles heel, and he definitely, obviously, they let Sweden kind of back in it a little bit, but they were able to finish the job. And as long as you get wins in this tournament, that's all that matters at the end of the day. So we'll see going forward, how Bennington can, hold up. Are they going to go to Aiden Hill? We'll see what happens. Obviously, USA is in a little bit completely different scenario where they've got 3 goalies potentially in the top 6 to 7 in the entire tournament. I think it's going to be a hell of a tilt. And I really was pleased with the play and the creativity of the Four Nations so far. It's nothing like an all-star game. It was anything but that. These guys are motivated to play. They're excited to represent their country, and that was on full display last night. The other funniest thing was seeing Brad Marchand score, obviously being a Bruins fan, being able to, watch him. And then the celebration, shout out Mia over on Twitter, posted a hilarious photo. I don't know how she captured this, but it was literally Brad Marchand had scored, obviously on a nice pass from Braden Point, kind of making that play. And Mia was able to capture a photo of it was essentially a screenshot of Brad Marchand celebrating, and all you see in the background is a guy in a Canadiens jersey, just 2 arms up, selling like no tomorrow. It's absolutely hilarious, and obviously Brad Marchand had, with the Canada jersey on it, just such a funny photo. But it was really cool to see, Marshy be able to play, obviously, at the Bell Center and get a a different reception, obviously, other than raining booze. And you could just tell he was having so much fun, huge grin on his face. So that was really, really cool. It's going to be, I think it's going to come down to USA Canada. Sweden did battle back. Obviously, those first 10 minutes of the game were brutal, with Canada just snapping the puck around. Crosby doing what he does. McDavid had a few great opportunities. Just fast pace. It's amazing what these guys can do. Having no experience, only a few days of practice, and then being able to go out there and execute like that, especially I believe it was like 59 seconds into the power play, being able to execute like that, snap the puck around. I mean, I do understand they're the best players in the world. Just to see the creativity and them kind of knowing what they like to do. Nate McKinnon mentioned it, just kind of going over it, power play practice, and just talking with the other guys, just finding out what they like to do in those situations. And it was definitely on full display. As I mentioned, this was episode 52 of Drop the Mitts Hockey Podcast. This is our first episode since August, so I definitely greatly appreciate you guys tuning in. Going to be a lot more consistent, obviously, going through the Four Nations, full coverage. Hoping to do 1 to 2 episodes a week. Just kind of giving you guys a breakdown of what I noticed throughout those games. And I definitely recommend tuning in. It's some phenomenal hockey. It was well worth staying up for. Obviously, we're sitting right now. It's, after midnight, being able to go back and kind of watch some of the highlight goals, obviously. And it had me on the edge of my seat all night, and it was just incredible hockey. It was so cool to see. Obviously, I mentioned Sid in the Canada jersey, and I couldn't be more excited for these games the next 2 weeks. So definitely tune in. You can follow us on Twitter. We're on all platforms at Drop Mitts Hockey. Our interview with Sam will be uploaded to YouTube, so you'll be able to check that out. And again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We've got another awesome interview next week. Another college hockey guy, freshman, having a phenomenal season. And I couldn't be more excited to kind of give you guys this episode and bring you guys a little bit more consistency. I know it's been a few months, so definitely excited and motivated to get back into it. So once again, guys, that was episode 52 of Drop the Mitts Hockey Podcast. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you guys for all the love and support. As always, could not happen without you guys. So I cannot thank you enough. And look forward to, breaking down the Four Nations games, this weekend and talking next week about all the games. So take care, guys. Be safe out there. Love you guys.